Let me ask you something. You probably believe that your right to vote is guaranteed by the Constitution, a fundamental right that nobody can take away from you. The Supreme Court of India just reminded us very clearly that it isn't. And once you understand why, it changes how you think about elections entirely. On April 10, 2026, the Supreme Court of India comprises the bench of Justice B.V. Nagaratnam and Justice R. Mahadevan delivered a landmark judgment of civil appeal. The case began in Rajasthan where several district milk producer cooperatives unions had framed bylaws setting eligibility conditions for candidates wanting to contest election to their management board. These conditions were things like the society you represent must have supplied milk for at least 270 days in a year and must not have remained closed for more than 90 days and must have a good auditing rate. The Rajasthan High Court struck these down, called them unconstitutional. The matter went all the way to Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court disagreed completely. It set aside the High Court judgment and upheld the validity of those bylaws. What the court actually held. Now, here is the part that really matters. The legal principle of court laid down. The court held, quoting settled law, neither the right to vote nor the right to contest an election is a fundamental right. These rights are purely statutory in nature and exist only to the extent conferred by the statute. In plain language, Parliament gives you these rights. Parliament can also limit them. They are not absolute. They are not protected under Part 3 of the Constitution the way our freedom of speech or right to life is. The court also drew a critical distinction that the High Court had missed. The right to vote or the right to contest elections are two different rights, and they are treated differently by law. The right to vote is protected to a greater extent under Section 19 of the Rajasthan Cooperative Society Act, but the right to stand for election to be a candidate can be regulated more strictly through eligibility criteria set by bylaws. Why does this matter to us can be understood by three takeaways from this judgment. First, this isn't about milk cooperatives. This principle applies to elections in cooperative societies, local bodies, resident welfare associations, anywhere elections are governed by statute rather than the constitution directly. Second, eligibility conditions are not the same as disqualifications. The court made this crystal clear, setting a minimum performance threshold before someone can contest. That's not the stripping rights, that's ensuring accountability. The two are very different legally and court must not confuse them. Third, if you are in a community or organizing with elected leadership, your rights in those elections depend entirely on what governing law and bylaws say, not just on what you assume the Constitution protects. Public rules literacy is not optional. In a country where so much public life is governed by statutes, knowing the difference between the statutory rights and the constitutional rights could matter enormously for you, your community, and your livelihood. If this judgment educates you and affects your daily life, drop your comments. I read each of them. Share this with someone who needs to understand their right, and I'll see you in the next one.